Okay. Greetings, everyone. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to thank everybody for supporting me and stopping by. And as we do so, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're on Hecklebus, get over to El Perro and do the same. If you're on El Perro, get over to Hecklebus, hit that like, share, and subscribe. Get this information out there. There's also PayPal links down below for anybody who wants to share some love. And what we're going to talk about tonight is the trust situation. We're going to kind of sidetrack from the dishonor of the Postal Service to hit on an issue of pertinence as it relates to that and our part in it. And everybody knows that the things that are going on today are not quite right. And they're having a hard time figuring a lot of it out. And that's because they've done some things in the past that have consequences and effects that apply today. The things that are going on today are not. And part of that problem is coming to the realization that you did certain things that you need to man up to and correct yourself. And this means you're going to have to speak about it. If you don't, it's not going to happen. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about tonight, let me get on here. Before we get started, I want to give a concept. And it was quite poignantly stated out, and subsequently it came from my companion. And this is one of my groups on Facebook called Man All Natural. Man as the acronym for Man All Natural. In our natural capacity, we can't really communicate with each other except to do it in a personal form. So everything we communicate to and from each other is merely nothing but fiction. It's a thought. That's all it is. First and foremost. So here's a nice little thing, like I said, was sent by my companion. And she got it from Emma Isabel. And where she got it from, I don't know. But it says, lesson for many. A mouse looking through a hole in the wall sees the farmer and his wife open a package. He was terrified to see that it was a mouse trap. He ran to the patio to warn everyone. There's a mouse trap at the home. The chicken was cackling and digging, says, "Excuse me, Mr. Mouse, I understand that is a big problem for you, but it doesn't hurt me at all." So the rodent went to the lamb, and he said the same thing. "Excuse me, Mr. Mouse, but I don't think I can do more than ask for you in my prayers." The mouse went to the cow, and she said, "But am I in danger?" "I think not," said the cow. The mouse returned to the house, worried and dejected, to face the farmer's mousetrap. That night, a great noise was heard, like that of a mousetrap catching its victim. The woman ran to see what she had caught. In the dark, she did not see that the mousetrap caught the tail of a poisonous snake. The speedy snake bit the woman. The farmer immediately took her to the hospital, and she came back with a high fever. The farmer, to comfort her, prepared a nutritious soup, grabbed a knife, and went to find the main ingredient, the chicken. Since the woman did not get better, friends and neighbors went to visit them. The farmer killed a lamb to feed them. The woman did not get better and died. And in the end, the husband sold the cow to the slaughterhouse to cover the funeral expenses. The next time someone tells you about their problem and you think that it doesn't affect you because it's not yours and you don't pay attention to it, think twice. He who doesn't live to serve doesn't serve to live. The world is not going badly because of the wickedness of the bad, but because of the apathy of the good. So when someone needs for you for their problems, give them your hand or give them a word of encouragement. May you never lack empathy. Remember it very well, empathy. Credits to whom appropriate. When we think about the problems in life and being good people, and we have this apathy to not step up and do something about it, I want you to think about George Floyd. No matter how fictitious you think the event might have been, the presentation is that if you're going to sit there and watch somebody standing on somebody else's neck, choking them out with a camera, is that empathy? There's a balance in life: empathy, sympathy, and apathy. And too many people are way out of balance and they have way too much apathy. They express way too much sympathy and have zero empathy. It's sickening. What's up, El Chris? You there, brother?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Let me check your. You got some kind of background noise going on.
Oh, I'm not sure that would be coming from.
Yeah, we can hardly understand you, brother. There's background noise is just too much.
I think my microphone is not good.
Maybe unplug the microphone and go without a mic. Anyway, I'm going to mute you for now and get back to it. And greetings, everybody. Samantha Sweet. We got the producer Moose in the house. Katrina Cannon, Janice A. Let's see. We got Damsel Medic, Void, Roz Blackwood, Rodney Kitley. Greetings, everybody. So, again, I appreciate your support. And we're going to get on to the next one, which is from Investopedia. And again, the link is down there for anybody who wants to come up on the panel. So, I'm sure he is, Joyce. Joyce is my companion, and Eddie is one of our other companions. And he's hearing my voice in on her device, and he's kind of confused. So, all right, let's look at this. What we've got here before you is the general ledger versus general journal. What's the difference? When it comes to tracking the finances of a business, a double entry accounting system that uses both a general ledger and a general ledger or general journal is arguably the best method for tracking a company's overall financial data and keeping operations running smoothly and profitable. In order to understand how such a system of accounting record works, one must first appreciate the different functions associated with these two key components: general ledgers and general journals. The journal consists of raw accounting entries that record business transactions in sequential order by date. The general ledger is more formalized and tracks 5 key accounting items: assets, liabilities, owners' capital, revenue, and expenses. Revenues, plural. Whereas under a general jurisdiction, there are many different jurisdictions that they have as venues, and you can revenue to any one of them. That's what revenue is. It's not revenues as in making money. It's as in going from point A to point B, from one venue to another. That's it. Advances in software technology have streamlined the accounting process and made it easy and efficient to combine both bookkeeping tasks. Simply defined, the general journal refers to a book of original entries. So when mom goes to the doctor and reports that she's pregnant, there's an original entry creating another record extending from hers, the original venue. And then another venue was created. That record was a creation of a new venue as a general journal, a new entry in which accountants and bookkeepers record raw business transactions. It was a business transaction, and it was in a raw nature. And according to the data or date events occur, that record is a matter of recording the events as a date, and it is a general journal. By establishing it, it creates a general ledger in case such certain activities occur. A general journal is the first place where data is recorded, and every page in the item features dividing columns for dates, serial numbers, as well as debit or credit records. Some organizations keep specialized journals, such as purchase journals or sales journals. This is a dual keeping of credits and debits that only records specific types of transactions. Once a transaction is recorded in a general journal, the amounts, the transaction is a transaction known as an event that's been converted from its natural raw form into a fictional form as a transaction so they can continue the paperwork. The amounts are then posted. And this is what we're talking about. That general ledger and the general journal are connected because they are posted to the appropriate account from the general journal. And the general journal is their journal, and you're entering data elements into that. Okay? Such as accounts receivable, equipment, and cash transactions. General ledgers. General ledger is a book or file that bookkeepers use to record all relevant accounts. So you have a general ledger that records events, and you have a general journal that records events, and the general ledger that records the all relevant accountings, and that is connected by the posting. The general ledger tracks 5 prominent accounting issues: assets, liabilities, owner capital, revenues, and expenses. Transactions that first appear in journals are subsequently posted. So when you grant the information and the post officer acts as a trustee by posting in general ledger accounts, who is the poster? And are they acting as an imposter? As according to Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises? Is that clerk the one that's imposting it from a general journal to a general ledger? These account balances are calculated and transferred from the general ledger to a trial balance before appearing on a company's official financial statements. So when Mom was acting as an informant upon birth registration, a trial commenced, or excuse me, an investigation commenced where everything put on that ledger is a trial balance. Did they use the right scale when they weighed that baby and give it the right value? I hope you're paying attention. Each accounting item is displayed as a 2-column T-shaped table. Did you bear your cross? Did Mom bear her cross? The bookkeeper typically places the account title at the top of the T and records debit entries on the left side and credit entries on the right. Are you or are you not the right hand of God? Otherwise, you're a debtor. The general ledger sometimes displays additional columns for particulars such as transaction, description, date, and serial number. Description. So when you're in your raw spiritual essence and you put forth your word and they convert them, is that a trans or a description known as a transaction? Did you describe it properly yourself? Did you coin your words or did you let them coin them for you? Did you put the value in your words or did they put their value in the words? Oh, and by the way, that's serial number. It doesn't say anything about the name, but it's certainly going to display that serial number. Special considerations. Today, most organizations use accounting software to record transactions in general ledgers into journals, which has dramatically streamlined these basic record-keeping activities. And like I said, I no longer put information into their records. I've established my own record as my own journal, and it is not general. It is exposed to the world. That's where my value comes from. And it's all in speaking the truth, as clear as I can make it and as close as I can make it to the truth as I know, period. In fact, most accounting software now maintains a central repository where companies can log both ledger and journal entries simultaneously. These advances in technology make it easier and less tedious to record transactions, and you don't need to maintain each book of accounts separately. The person entering data in any module of your company's accounting or bookkeeping software may not even be aware of these repositories. So when I created my estate on the public internet as a Keith Orton Little FBU through wordwisewarriors.art, each keystroke had a security certificate that had a timestamp recording those events in their journal. That's my property. And that journal is protected by the cybersecurity. Nobody can put a value on it unless I put a value on it. It has to have my weight because it came from a point of origin not existing in their general jurisdiction and is exclusive from all others. Exclusive from all others. In many of these software applications, the data entry person need only click a drop-down menu to enter a transaction in a ledger or journal. It gets simpler and simpler the more you understand. But again, like I've shown, there's a multitude of research that I've done over the last 7 years to just comprehend it myself. But once I get this done, like I said, I'm coming up on a point in time here shortly for recovery of the estate through the Lord's release. where I'm going to push the issue and I'm going to give my exclusive jurisdiction to all of theirs that they pose as exclusive jurisdiction. That can't be possible. They cannot have, as a group, exclusive jurisdiction. And I'm going to show you why and how. In their own definitions under Black's Law. Under Black's Law, exclusion means denial of entry. Ex parte Domingo Corpus, D.C., Washington. Exclusions are things barred and not admitted. So when they pose an exclusive jurisdiction, what they're saying is they're barring and not admitting something. What is it they're barring and not admitting? Enemies. And that's why you have to have a name and address to prove that you're not an enemy. That's a misnomer. You don't have to have a name and address to prove that you're not an enemy. You have a name and address because now they can re-venue their exclusive jurisdiction to come take your shit, because the state claims ownership through that general journal and the general ledger. It's their trust. And I'm going to show you where that's at here next. Exclusion rule, or rule of exclusion. A witness. Can I get a witness? I'm tired of people tampering and tempering witnesses. We're going to talk about that too. Whether a party to the cause or not may not testify as to his uncommunicated intent, purpose, or motive. Occidental Life Insurance of California versus Nichols. This rule applies even though witness intent or state of mind is material to the issue rather than collateral. Material being internal, collateral being exclusively outside of. Exclusive, appertaining to the subject alone. Not including, admitting, or pertaining to others. So when they address me in any manner, when anybody addresses me in any manner, written or spoken, it's fiction. You cannot communicate naturally. If everything written and spoken is fiction, how do you communicate naturally? By actions. So when they call out any kind of name in a court that doesn't apply to me, why would I act on it? So if they send me something in the mail and tell me I got to go to court, why would I act on it? That would be materialistic. I have a collateral advantage, though. Shutting out, debarring from interference or participation vested in one person alone. And that is my advantage. As one spiritual being, the manual being has personal issues that are vested in him. And he's no respecter of persons, so you can't get to the spirit through the person of the man. Got it? If you're going to come to me, we have to do it in a spiritual context. It has to be an offer and acceptance. An offer and acceptance in a goal to agree. Exclusive remedy, where a statute creates a new right. A statute creates a new right by written and spoken words, which is fiction. So it doesn't create shit. But this is their term for exclusive remedy within their statutes. Get this. Where a statute creates a new right or imposes a new duty or liability unknown to the common law, and gives a remedy for its enforcement. The remedy prescribed is exclusive. Now, wait a minute. Appertaining to the subject alone, not including, admitting, or pertaining to any others. Yet it's a public statute that they say applies to everyone. Do you see the insanity in their definitions? This is ridiculous stuff, folks. Did we fix the mic there, Chris?
I plugged a different mic in. I don't know if you can hear me or not on it.
Much better, much better. Greetings, brother. How you doing?
Oh, yeah. Greetings. Nice subject matter. You have my full and undivided attention.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to take a minute to welcome everybody else. Harry Nutt, Five Hut, Freedom Fighter. We got Golden Renaissance Productions in the house. Greetings. Aaron, Austin Murphy. We have Joyce Schmidt, my companion. We have 5 Speed. Greetings, everybody. Samantha. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get this information out. And then we're going to go on to the next thing.
See my person?
Say that again.
No, I was just playing with you. A friend of mine brought this toy over.
Oh, okay. So when we get back to the origin of the record, the general journal, the general ledger, and how it gets created and everything, it's kind of disturbing. And I've been on this birth certificate thing for a long time, guys. You guys should know this. And I've been saying the same thing for a long time, that it's a false record. And so we're looking at the term tamper, as in tamper with a witness, as we saw earlier. Tamper with a witness in the raw nature, where mom was bearing the labor pains of doing his good work as she was inspired with their partner that was inspired to co-create and procreate his original creation and keep that lineage going as a legacy heir. And that was tampered with through the communication in a fiction. And like I said, you cannot communicate with me in reality as a natural being. And I got to give credit to a friend that I just spoke to on the phone. I haven't talked to him in a number of years. And he was one of the guys I searched out when I first came into this case 7 years ago. And he's a pro bono guy that certainly seems to know what he's talking about. And so I got to give him credit for our talk tonight, because he helped me clarify a lot of things, and particularly in regards to the cause. And the cause is, like I said, I told him it was the entrance of a record that was done through enumeration at birth. And in a sense, it was kind of right, but it was the stop point. And instead, I'm supposed to start from a probative point, like I've been telling. These courts administrate are courts of probation. They administrate probates, and those are decedent estates. And so I've got to come from my decedent estate, the personal view, and be able to express in fiction, in agreement with their fiction, their very terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to show some tamper and how it's in agreement with their terms, and they should be able to agree with, yeah, it was tampered with. Though I'm not going to use that term. We're going to see through the definitions how to use it without using that term. And it says meddle, interfere. Figurative use of tamper is to work in clay. God formed man of the dust of the ground, the clay. And the natural raw being was recorded and entered into a record in general journal, and that would be an error, because that work is exclusive, and that's the remedy. It's outside of their statutes and maintains that exclusivity. etc., so as to mix it thoroughly. So when they enter you into that record, it's an entry into a general journal and is no longer deemed or considered exclusive. Probably originally a variant of temper, which also is a verb. And that's what happens in your mom's womb. And we're going to see that here in just a minute, which is how it often was spelled at first. Okay? So we still use the two terms, temper and tamper. But tamper, we now know, means something else in a sense of personality characteristics. And again, this is the verb. This is the verb. This is the noun. One. You see the exclusive? One. Who or that which tamps. So if you're smoking a pipe and you're a pipe smoker, you tamp your tobacco down. That's tamper. How is that a noun? The action of tamping down, but the tamper is the noun. Tamp as a verb. To fill. So you tamp down so you fill it up. It's to fill. And what you did when you entered those data elements is you filled in a hole of information that they require in order to keep on going. Because if they don't get your credit, they can't pose anything. Temper as a verb. Hang it. To moderate. To bring to a proper or suitable state. Pro person, or suitable. To vest you in a different way. To vest you in a different way. So it's much like investing. To modify some excessive quality. To modify some excessive quality. Something greater than the personal character. So they modified it to be a personal character. To restrain within due limits. Duties pertaining to persons. Observe proper measure. Be moderate. Mode of rate. What rate? What speed are you moving at? What rate are you getting paid at? What are the rations for your day? The per diem, military term. Restrain oneself. Also transitive. Mix correctly. Mix in due proportion. Regulate. Rule. Govern. Manage. This is often described as from Latin tempus, time, season, see temporal, temp, oral, with a sense of proper time or season. But as the root sense of tempus seems to be stretch, the words in the restrain, modify sense might be a semantic shift from stretching, measuring, meaning to make hard and elastic. Tune the pitch of a musical instrument, which itself is a record. Tune the pitch of a musical instrument is to record it. Okay? You see how synonymous the terms get as the language goes? I mean, it's kind of easy to see that mom was bearing the natural raw labor pains, and it was converted into duties with limitations by a personal character trait established in a general journal and then posted to a general ledger. That general ledger is going to keep all of the data elements running until you hit the ledger with the tombstone on top and you are buried in ground and engraved. That is an engraven image. It is the establishment of an engraven image when you're born, and they convert it to birth. The next one, as it goes to the exclusivity and the military law and posting things, is Libra Code. I'm going to read 3 codes here in order. Article 9, Article 10, and Article 11. The functions of ambassadors, ministers, or other diplomatic agents accredited by neutral powers to the hostile government cease so far as regards the displaced government, but the conquering or occupying power usually recognizes them as temporally accredited to itself. Again, saying that you have to temper your words. You have to make your words so that they give credit to yourself, not the man and not the person. Know thyself. Notice it said, let's see here, displaced government and occupying. That's the occupation when you need to be employed. That's your occupation. You're acting as part of the military. 10. As that military goes, martial law affects chiefly the police and collection of public revenue and taxes, whether imposed by the expelled government or by the invader who sits in kingship, and refers mainly to the support and efficiency of the army, its safety, and the safety of its operations. That's that revenue of exclusive jurisdiction to general jurisdiction as a military term. Article 11, the law of war does not only disclaim all cruelty and bad faith concerning engagements concluded with the enemy during the war, but also the breaking of stipulations solemnly contracted by the belligerents in the time of peace, and avowedly intended to remain in force in case of war between the contracting parties. The intent, I come in peace. I agree. We need a government to maintain the belligerents that don't know how to contract. They don't know how to coin their words. It disclaims all extortions and other transactions for individual gain, all acts of private revenge or connivance at such acts. However, offenses to the contrary shall be severely punished, and especially so if committed by officers. Remember our discussion the other night in regards to the etymology of officer. F-I-C, to make. F-I-C-E, from facer, to make. If you're going to make your words worth something, make sure you use the right ones. The right ones. The exclusive words. Are you catching on? So let's talk about this trust. When they establish that general journal and that general ledger, it's done in a trust form, and it establishes trust funds. And the establishment of trust funds, like I said, is for the decedent estate of decedent. and it's done through the Department of State under 73, as we see here, Estate of Decedents, Department of State, Trust Fund. Okay. And these are all in the detail section below, so you can click on them and find this for yourself. Funds due incompetent beneficiaries, Department of Veterans Affairs. So all you gentlemen out there, all you ladies out there that were part of the wars and came back and became beneficiaries that were incompetent to perform duties because of your disabilities, there are funds that are due you. Make sure you know how to use that DD 214 properly as a discharge of those funds rather than a release of your personal services. Even though you're disabled, then people should be showing you gratitude. The very government that you worked for is not. Let's go on to the next one. There's a limitation on use of appropriated funds to influence certain federal contracting and financial transactions. And that's that enumeration at birth. If you remember my video earlier, we went over that enumeration at birth. And it's an agreement between the Department of Defense, Department of State, Homeland Security, and an official of the state. That's the agreement. And the agreement is to keep a general journal. Through the keeping of that general journal, there's an enumeration at birth that claims everybody's a resident, and that's a false entry. I am exclusively a child of God and not a resident of anybody or anything other. I'm not a United States citizen. I'm not a resident, and I'm certainly not a sovereign citizen. This next one is in regards to your service. And it relates to National Service Trust because you were declared a national in service under a trust. And it says, what is the National Service Trust? National Service Trust is an account in the Treasury of the United States from which a corporation makes payments of education awards. Payment pays interest that accrues on qualified student loans for AmeriCorps participants during terms of service in approved national service positions, and makes other payments authorized by Congress. Congress shall lay and collect taxes, duties, and imposts, and those are the other payments that are authorized by Congress, and it's done through a National Service Trust, which is an account in the Treasury that's established in your name. (31 CFR 363.10). We discussed that the other day. 31 CFR 363.6 right along with it. So I'm not going to concern about the definitions. As it says, AmeriCorps, cost of attendance, current educational expenses. Current educational expenses, that's the whole problem. So you're supposed to be able to receive education freely. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give unto the Father what belongs to the Father. Therefore, if you give unto the Father is going to give unto you freely. And that is the knowledge. So let's go back. And let's look at this. We're going to see that education in here. Authority from 42 U.S. Code. Social Security. Spell of illness. When mom goes into that hospital and registers a statement in that first journal that she's going to give birth, that's a false communication, and it lies on mom and dad. Again, I entered those data elements. It's my fault. I have to repent for that and promise I'll never do that again. If I ever enter data elements into those records again, they will be true and correct. 42 U.S. codes 1206 or 12601 to 12606. Establishment of the National Service Trust. There is established in the Treasury of the United States an account be known as the National Service Trust. The trust shall consist of, from the amounts appropriated to the corporation and made available to carry out this division, such amounts as the corporation may designate to be available for the payment of. The term corporation means the Corporation for National and Community Service. So now you've taken the community where you were born in, the municipality that you were born in, that constructed a false bond because you allowed them to, of course. Established under Section 12651. Okay. Community service starts when mom committed to her community service under a spell of illness. 42 U.S. Code 1395X, spell of illness, merely means inpatient hospital treatment commencing on the first day. And so when mom is in the hospital and she has a spell of illness, inpatient hospital treatment, and then she's in labor to bring forth a legacy heir and cast forth a man who will take his first breath and become a living soul, and that is never noticed. It is passed right on by. And so when the baby is born, he is literally born in a spell of illness himself, which is merely just his first day of inpatient hospital services. So let's go back and look at the next one. It's 12601. So we go and click next to get 12601A, transfer of funds, notice to Congress. So the enumeration at birth is the notice to Congress from the local hospital communicating all the way up the line with Congress that, hey, we have a birth in the state. And it's done through the county register, the state Bureau of Vital Statistics that is regulated by the Department of Commerce and the Secretary of State. It's the county that holds that document, not a federal, state, or municipal office. It's held at the administrative office at the county registrar. That's the general journal. The general ledger is at the federal level at the Treasury, who owes a debt to the post office, who is the accountant that must make sure that the general ledger is operating correctly. The next one, individuals. 5 U.S.C. 552A, the individual record. Eligible to receive an educational award from the trust. Public education, not required to be paid for because it's paid for from the trust. And notice, folks, I'm not going down into these details too much, right? You don't need to. That trial, look at this. Education, and they're going down here. If convicted of the possession of controlled substance, first conviction, it is a trial balance. Okay? The educational trust is a trial balance. They want to try you to see how well you can educate yourself while disillusioning you with their blasphemy in their public education. Next, 1602A, certifications of successful completion of terms of service. That DD 214, again, I urge you folks to learn how to use that. It operates either as a discharge or a release. And upon completion of services, you should be letting them know it should operate as a discharge. And if you're operating it as a release, You better be putting your terms and conditions on there for the value, because it certainly wasn't fucking worth it to go to war and end up losing a leg. I now charge $1 million per interaction. Make it worth it. You are allowed to set your terms. The $1 million is merely an extension of credit. If they're in agreement, they should be happy to accept that. (1603) Determination of the amount of the educational award. See, they're the ones that are making the determination. The time you were born is a term. How long was mom in labor? The determination for that labor, oh, they're going to give her an award for her labor. How long was she in labor? How much are they going to give her towards that, put in that account for that determination? Huh? Huh? Do you guys see that, or am I the only one that sees this? Am I insane? Of course they don't follow U.S. code. That's why you have to show them the rules, the words. They follow the letter of the law. And it's uniform throughout all jurisdictions, folks. Just because they say it in a different way doesn't mean it's not there. Let's talk about the next one. 604 is disbursement of educational awards. Disburse. It's the same thing as purse. Disbursement of educational awards. The plain language, folks, should tell you something. See, this is the mentality of giving up your purse. 42 U.S. Code 12605 says repealed. But it's got this nice little place down here that says note. Notes. Remember, notes are promises, right? So it says statutory notes related to subsidiaries. Repeal effective October 1st, 2009. See Section 6101 of Public Law 111-13, set out as an effective date of 2009 amendment. Note. See, they're notes under Section 4950. A note is a promise, and people break their promise all the time, so you have to correct their agreement and keep them in good faith. Volunteerism policy. Because of the long-standing importance of volunteerism throughout American history, it is the policy of Congress to foster. I was a foster child for a number of years. I was adopted. And I'm telling you again, that's what it's all about, is adopting and fostering. But make sure that what you foster and adopt is good. The tradition of volunteerism through greater involvement on the part of individuals of all ages and backgrounds. What about age of majority? Don't you have to be of age to contract? No. 14 years of age. You're considered to be a volunteer if you're involved in the benefit because your mom signed you up under that educational trust to be a student in public education, whereupon mom took upon that benefit and Title 19 or whatever kind of medication or medical insurance. Those are benefits, and they were passed on to you because she used them to educate you and keep you in good health. And thus, at the age of 14, you're presumed to be a volunteer for the Selective Service. And again, folks, it's just a presumption. The purpose of this chapter is to foster and expand voluntary citizen service in communities throughout the nation in activities designed to help the poor. Activities, not words and paperwork, but activities. The disadvantaged, the vulnerable, and the elderly. In carrying out this purpose, the Corporation for National Community Service shall utilize to the fullest extent the programs authorized under this chapter. 42 U.S. Code, Social Security, Health and Human Services. That is the estate recovery program. Must, to the fullest extent, utilized, shall, to the fullest extent, utilize the programs authorized under this chapter. Coordinate with other federal, state, and local agencies. Expand relationships with and support for the efforts of civic, community, and educational organizations, and utilize the energy, innovative spirit, experience, and skills of all Americans, not United States citizens or residents. And even that, I am not an American, but it is a term that one can use to express what they shall utilize to the full extent when it comes to volunteerism policy. Because again, that resident presence must be deemed necessary by the board, and I volunteered to claim to be a resident. So let's go back and look at the next one. Approval process for approved positions. So every time you go into court and they have that disposition hearing, they're dispositioning you from one place to another, a revenue in action. And the original approval process for this was done by the enumeration at birth. Approval process for approved positions started you out at the lowest position, which is a general placement. Everybody catching on? Like I said, I appreciate the phone call I got tonight because it helps solidify what I've been saying all along. It's my own fault. But in that conversation, I come to find out that being my own fault, I can't place any fault in them. All I can do is get them to agree to having similar fault. So I hope everybody comprehends what's going on here. And that is the end of the show tonight, or the research, I'll call it tonight. I don't like calling it a show or program or anything, but the research tonight. I hope everybody can at least try to absorb some of this over time. Like I said, I've been doing it 7 years. I don't expect anybody to absorb it overnight for sure. But again, I give gratitude and thanks to the conversation I had with a brother earlier to help clear up the green, yellow, and red as it applies to the color of law, where you're at as far as position, and what you should do when you see certain things that it should caution you. If you continue on in those cautions, there comes a point where you should stop. I urge everybody to stop in their learning as they are now. Go back to the beginning, start all over, relearn the concise English, get a concise English handbook, and relearn the plain writing of the English language. It is a very colorful language. So, again, I appreciate everybody. And before we go, El Chris, do you have anything to say? Let the people know what's on your mind. Willing to answer any questions you might have from the research.
Yeah, certainly. I have a lot of questions I'd like to. I just don't have them booted up in my mind right now. Perhaps at another venue would be more appropriate.
All right, that's certainly fine. And that's one of the things I appreciate if everybody would do that, is just start taking notes. Take a note, think about it, and then come back to the panel again some other time and ask a question. I'm always willing to go back and review other material because it's all relative. Every last bit of this stuff that we're talking about, like I said, it's relative to the fiction because it itself is fiction. And that's, I want people to understand that. And yes, Marcus, I believe you're referring to the guy up in Canada that was a farrier. He had birds and hawks and stuff, and they took his business away because of their statutes and codes professing exclusive jurisdiction there. So yeah. So anyway, I want to thank everybody. JLV, good to see you again. Channel 3, Mavis, 5 Hut, Austin, Harry Nut, everybody, Minchie, good to see you. La India Maria, make sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Get this information out. Joseph K, good to see you here. And make sure that people learn how to, or at least that you learn how to recognize your own value as very exclusive. You have talents, and you need to be able to present those talents in your own value. It's one of the problems with a lot of artists and crafters is that they want to put something out there, but they get this critique from somebody else that's been doing it for much longer, and it's kind of disheartening because it doesn't have the same value. That's okay. Just keep doing it, and it's the same thing as riding a bike. The more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. So if your value that you think you have isn't there yet, just keep doing it. It will come. Quit accepting everybody else's value and learn how to express that value yourself. So think about this stuff and remember, I do appreciate y'all. I do love you, but I don't care. I don't give a fuck whether you love me back. What I really want is for you to learn how to step up for yourself so that you can learn one day to walk with me. I'm tired of doing this by myself. Really, I am. So God bless you. I love you. I don't give a fuck whether you love me back. And I hope you have a blessed evening. We'll see you again next time. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith.